Hello, welcome today. We're going to practice a 1 hour mindful flow-based yoga. We'll be using our breath as a way to keep us in this space, as a way to slow down the movements and help us open up to a spaciousness where we can feel what's happening in each movement and each posture, and with all the other things that we'll be practicing today. So for today's practice, you'll need a blanket. If you don't have a blanket, you can get a towel or maybe a cushion, small cushion from the couch. Excuse me, and 2 blocks if you have them. If you don't have these props, it's okay. It just makes the practice a little more accessible. So I'm going to invite you now to use your blanket or whatever prop you have. Place it on the top end of the mat and lay back in a Shavasana-like position. Whatever kind of prop you have underneath your head, when you place it behind your head, let the head rest on the prop, then pull the prop down just above the shoulders so that the blanket or pillow fills the space of the curve in the neck, the cervical curve, but doesn't get underneath the shoulders. So lay yourself down onto your mat or your space on the floor. Allow the spine to be long. Extend the arms a comfortable distance from the body, so there's space between the inner arm and the outer ribs. Palms facing up. And let the legs be long too. If you find you have any lower back pain today, then you can bend the knees and let the toes turn in, heels flare out to the edges of the mat so you can rest in constructive rest pose. Once you're settled now, close your eyes and we'll begin our class. Allowing yourself to settle on your mat, feeling the whole back body supported, head, shoulders, neck, arms and legs, all supported by the floor. Floor supported by the foundation of the building you're in, wherever you are. Foundation supported by the earth, Mother Earth, that place that we all inhabit. Then with a deep inhale and exhale, bringing yourself back here into this space. Just noticing if there might be any thoughts, making lists for the day, thinking about the past. Take an inhale, bring you here into the present. Exhale. Maybe thinking about things that need to be done today. Again, inhale. Exhale, bring yourself here for this next bit of time so we can practice together. Allow the hinge in the jaw to soften so that the lower jaw drops away from the upper jaw. Still keeping the mouth closed as long as you can breathe through the nose. If you can't breathe through the nose, then you can breathe through your mouth. But see if you can keep the lips closed so that you can use the natural filtration mechanisms of the nose for each inhale and each exhale. As the jaw softens, notice other parts of the body that may soften too. Lengthen the neck, maybe the shoulders drop away from the ears. No need to create these actions, but see if you notice this. Then allow the tongue to drop away from the roof of the mouth so that it spreads in the base of the mouth. Now feeling a spaciousness inside of the mouth. Jaw may be relaxing a little bit more. Back of the throat starting to soften too. Feeling that breath starting to connect just a little bit more. Starting a long, slow, smooth inhalation. And a long, slow, smooth exhalation. Then moving into a breath practice called Ujjayi breath, still laying on your back in the Shavasana shape. Gently closing the windpipe just a little mechanism called the glottis, just closing that subtly. Same movement and practice you do when you whisper to a good friend. So if you can't get that feeling, then just whisper, whisper, and keep the exhalation going. Close the lips, inhale with that same feeling in the throat. No need to grip or harden the throat, just that softened breath. Notice how the breath is longer, slower, and smoother, almost like sipping the breath through a straw. Maybe starting to hear the vibration of your own breath. Inhale to exhale. Starting to feel the energy of the breath or the prana moving into your lungs. With the deep breath, maybe starting to move into the belly. And in this way, just noticing what other parts of the body are responding to your breath. Anything in the arms, legs, just subtle movements that happen with the undulation of the breath. Today we'll use the practice of Ujjayi breath to keep us connected to each movement and each pose that we do. Now gently slide your eyes open, starting to move fingers and toes, subtle movements, farthest reaches of the body. Opening and closing the hands, maybe rotating the wrists, maybe rotating the feet, gentle pointing and flexing. No need to rush. We have all the time in the world. And gentle movements of the arms and legs. Then if you have a height underneath your head, remove that height and you can just place it off to the side. Bend your knees. Place your feet flat on the floor. If you aren't already in constructive rest pose, then turn the toes in, flare the heels out, let the knees come in towards each other, arms rest at the sides. Eyes open, gazing at the ceiling. Just letting that lower back broaden with that internal rotation of the legs. And let the knees separate and feet come underneath each knee. Bring the right knee to chest. Hug that knee well in as much as you can. A little bit of pulsing action here. Allow yourself to exhale, let the knee come a little bit closer. Inhale, allow the knee to move away. Continuing that movement with your own breath, the length of your own breath. No need to move with me, follow your breath. On your next exhale, hold the knee well into the chest, then slowly slide that left leg out. Push through the heel, the ball mounts of the toes, engage the kneecap on the left, while the right knee holds well into the chest. If this is too much for your back, you can go back to knee bent. Again, still allowing for that movement of the breath to move the thigh. Working on opening the hips here in a subtle and gentle way with Ekapada Pavanmuktasana. Then holding on to the thigh or interlace the fingers around the back of the thigh. Straighten that leg up, right leg up. Show the bottom of the foot to the ceiling. Suptahasta Panagustasana 1. Point and flex a little. Notice the engagement with the hamstring. Then starting to massage the sides of the thigh, the backs of the thigh, sides of the knee, front of the knee. Hands starting to slide up towards the shin. Keep the legs straight, reaching as well as you can up towards the ankle. Chin to the shin. Chest comes off of the floor, so you're pressing away. Tuck the chin in, but press away from the shoulder blades. Two legs still separating. Left leg long, right leg long, as best you can. And if knee is bent, you can still do the same action. So even if left knee is bent, right leg lifted, you can still do the same action. Then starting to slide the hands down the leg, roll back, keep the chin tucked in. Bend the knee, hug into the chest. Straighten both legs, straighten both arms overhead. Reaching overhead, full body length. Right hand holds the left wrist to extend, lengthen the spine, lengthen the legs. Press through the heels and the ball mounts of the toes. Engage the kneecaps and press the tops of the thighs down towards the floor. As you find your next exhale, bend both knees, place both feet on the floor. Bring left knee to chest and hug the left knee well into the chest. Again, starting that movement with the breath. Exhale, hold the knee and the thigh, closing the space between the top of the thigh and the stomach and chest. Inhale. Let the thigh and knee move away. Exhale, closing that space. Again, moving with your own breath and the spaciousness that the breath can provide to you. On your next exhale, hug the thigh in. Straighten the right leg. Let the heel go across the mat. Push through the heel. The ball mounts of the toes now on that right leg. Kneecap lifting. Press the top of the thigh down towards the floor. And then coming back into the movement of the breath. Inhale. Left thigh moves away. Exhale.
Close that space between the top of the thigh and the body. Then holding the thigh, or interlace the fingers back behind the thigh, straighten the left leg up, press the foot up towards the ceiling, showing the bottom of the foot to the ceiling, pointing and flexing, feeling the engagement with the hamstring, maybe even the Achilles tendon. Now massaging the sides of the thigh, the front of the thigh, the sides of the knee, the front of the knee. Then starting to slide the hands up the shin, tuck the chin into the chest as the hands start reaching up mid-shin, maybe all the way up to the ankle. Two legs moving away from each other. Reach the forehead up towards the shin. Keep the chin tucked in. Notice the work in the abdominals here, gentle work. Starting to slowly roll down. Shoulder blades, keep the chin tucked in to protect the neck. Slowly roll down. Bend the knee. Place the foot on the floor. Straighten the legs, straighten the arms. Left hand holds right wrist, extend. Lengthen the spine, lengthen the arms. Use that resistance to get full body length. Allow the arms to come down to the sides. Let the legs separate as wide as the mat. Arms shoulder height. Resting here for a few breaths in a starfish position. Just feeling the energy that you've been able to create for yourself here, just with these first few movements. Breath still in Ujjayi breath. Breathing through the nose if that's possible. Feeling into the spaciousness that the breath can give you at this time. Then bend the knees, place the feet flat on the floor. Right leg will cross over left, foot on the knee. So the foot will rest between the heel and the ankle bone on the knee. Take the right hand and press the right thigh away from the body. Feel the length in the side waist. Notice the external rotation of the right thigh. If you'd like to go a little deeper, you can start to lift the left thigh towards the chest. Either hold the thigh, wrap the hands around the back of the thigh, or bring the hands around the front of the shin. Notice that each time the right leg goes into a deeper external rotation. So you decide where you are today. And gently starting to move that left leg just a little from side to side, maybe forward and backward. Feeling any places in the hip that might need just a little bit more attention. And if lifting the thigh was too much for you, you can place the leg back down and you can rock that left leg from side to side with the foot on the floor too. Then straighten that left leg up towards the ceiling. Show the bottom of the foot to the ceiling. Point and flex that left foot. Bend the knee, let the foot come down to the floor. And allow that right leg to cross more completely over the left. So the two knees are on top of each other now. Arms come up shoulder height, resting on the floor. And allow that left leg to pull the right leg a little more towards the left, giving us a nice spinal twist. Right arm can come up overhead in a nice soft half moon bend. And then you can turn your gaze towards the left. Use that breath to bring length to that right side. Twisting to the left, breathing into the right. As you find your next inhale, inhale up to center the legs. Uncross the legs, hug knees into chest. Maybe rock a little from side to side. Maybe make a nice infinity sign with the tops of the knees, rolling over the back side of the body, the flank, where the fleshy part of the skin covers the hip bones, rolling over the lower back. Noticing any tender spots that you might want to hover on as we do this movement. Allow the feet to come to the floor, changing sides now. Cross left leg over right. Again, in between the heel and the ankle bone is where the foot will rest. Then take the left hand and gently press the left thigh away from the body, feeling that deeper external rotation and length too in the side waist here. As the left hand presses in to the left thigh, right arm rests comfortably at the side in a Shavasana-like shape. Gentle space between the inner arm and the inner ribs, or outer ribs. Use your breath as an anchor to keep you in this place in space. So take a nice deep Ujjayi inhale and Ujjayi exhale. If you'd like to go deeper into the practice, starting to lift the right thigh, hold the thigh or wrap the hands around the back of the thigh, interlace the fingers, or interlace the fingers over the shin. Again, noticing each time there's a deeper external rotation of the lifted leg. Notice the difference between the two sides if there is one. No judgment, just noticing. And starting to move that right leg a little from side to side, maybe backwards, forward. Gentle movements. Slow, gentle movements. Finding any places or spaces in that hip socket where you might want to hover and hold. Then straighten that right leg up, show the bottom of the foot to the ceiling, point and flex the foot. Bend the knee, place that right foot on the floor. Then crossing the legs a little more completely. Allow the two thighs to come together, knee over knee, left knee over right. Slide the arms up, shoulder height. Then allow that right leg to bring the left knee a little more completely towards the right. Opening now the left side of the body. Right arm or left arm can slide overhead in a gentle half moon arc. Gaze can go in the same direction as the knees. Inhale to open up that left side of the body. Exhale to go into the twist just a little more deeply. Inhale to center, let the knees come up, on and cross the legs. Hold the knees into the chest, rock a little from side to side. Still holding on to your Ujjayi breath. Then rolling up or rolling off to the side. We're going to roll forward 3 times now. Roll forward, come up, roll back, tuck the chin in, roll up to the tops of the shoulders, roll back, massaging the whole spine. Keep the chin tucked in, then cross the legs into easy cross-legged pose.
Hands on the knees, pull the chin back, close the eyes, and just notice the spaciousness that you've been able to create for yourself here. Spine long, neck long. Again, pull the chin back, ears over the shoulders. Then you can bring the legs out to the side to come to hands and knees, or roll over the tops of your knees and come forward to hands and knees. Starting to do just a little bit of gentle cat-cow. I like to call this an intuitive cat-cow, moving from side to side, rocking, maybe stirring the hips, rolling back, rolling forward. Find what you need in this moment after being on your back there for a good 15 minutes. And coming into that neutral space, big toes touch, knees separate as the hips move back, sliding into Adho Mukha Virasana, extended child's pose. Let the navel pull into the front of the spine. Chest comes through the arms, hands spread wide, forehead resting on the mat. Breathe deeply into the belly to allow that breath to transfer into the back body, expanding the back body. Then inhale up to cow pose. Tailbone lifts, back of the head lifting, front of the spine long, from pubic bone to chin. Exhale, hips slide back, front of the navel pulls in, arms long, let the chest come forward again. Inhale, come up to your cow pose. Belly releases towards the floor. Exhale, big toes touch, knees separating, sliding back into your child's pose, extended child's pose. Inhale, come up. And at this point, you may want to use your blocks. Have the blocks next to you at the sides of the mat. And bring the hands onto the blocks, or your hands can stay on the floor too. Bring right knee forward, up towards the blocks in alignment with the hands. Rocking forward into a low lunge with the back leg long. Toes are not curled under. We're pressing the shin and the top of the foot into the floor. And then chest lifting, press away from the floor, hands on blocks. Notice you have 3 heights, 1, 2, and 3. Each height allows for a little bit more lift. And again, if you don't have blocks, you can have the hands on the floor. Allow the front of the thigh to sink towards the floor, opening up the hip flexor here in this back left leg. Sweep the arms overhead if that movement's available to you, and notice the back bend on the left and a deep forward fold on the right. Let the arms separate and twist towards the right knee. Bring arms overhead, inhale. Twist away from the right knee. Inhale, bring arms overhead. Hands come down to the blocks or the floor. Starting to press out of this low lunge, bring right leg back. Hands come down to the floor. Slide back into child's pose. Exhale.
As you find your next inhale, come up to tabletop. Placing hands on blocks or keeping on the floor. Bring left leg forward. Coming into that low lunge, allowing knee to move past ankle if you feel that's appropriate for you. Press down into that left foot. Right leg long now. Feel the back bend now happening on the right. Press into the shin and the top of the foot on the right to engage that low lunge. Allow the hip flexor on the right to lengthen as you lean into the pose. Inhale, sweep the arms overhead if that's available to you. Exhale, twisting towards the left leg. Press down into both feet, the top of the back foot and the foot in front, to give you stability as you twist. Inhale, sweep arms overhead. Exhale, twist away from the left leg. Press down into the feet. Give you stability. Inhale, lift up. Exhale, hands come down to the blocks, then to the floor. Bringing that left leg back. Big toes touch, knees separate. Slide back into child's pose. Coming into sync with spaciousness. Inhale back up to hands and knees. Knees come together, moving towards a plank pose position. We'll start by practicing half plank position. Roll over the top of the toes on the right. Extend the right leg back behind you. Spread the leg. Lift the inner right groin up towards the ceiling and spread the back of the leg. Crown of the head reaches towards the wall in front of you or across the room. Gaze above the fingertips as you press back through that right heel, opening the Achilles tendon. Right knee back to meet the left. Left leg curl over the top of the toes. Straighten that left leg. Lift the left inner groin up towards the ceiling while you spread the back of the left leg. Keeping hips parallel. Hands pressing to the floor, pressing the chest away from the floor. Gaze above the fingertips. Bring left knee back to meet right. Slide back with knees together into child's pose. Bring arms in next to the body, palms facing up. Classical child's pose, Balasana. Let the tops of the arms, the front of the arms, come down towards the floor, palms reflecting up. Slide hands underneath your shoulders with an inhale, come up and come back to hands and knees. Now coming into full plank pose. Extend right leg back, then left leg back. Keep the hips parallel with the lower floating ribs. If full plank is too much for you today, then you can continue to do one-legged plank as we hold this for a couple more breaths. Reach the crown of the head forward, press the heels back, gaze above the fingertips, pull the navel in, and just below the navel into the front of the spine. Then press up into downward facing dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana. Separate the feet hips width apart. Then bending one knee, straightening the other leg as you press into the other heel. Just bending alternate legs. Allow the chest to come through the arms. Spread the inner upper arm away from the ears. Press hands into the floor. Then come up onto both ball mounts of the toes. Slide forward into plank pose. Bend the knees, come to the floor. Round the back, slide back into child's pose. Inhale up. Curl the toes under, straighten legs, downward facing dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana. Slide forward into plank pose. Maybe needing to step back a little, shoulders over the wrists, press the hands into the floor, lift away, chest broad. Bend knees, hips slide back, hands stay where they are. Curl back into Adho Mukha Virasana. Inhale up, one more round. Curl the toes under, straighten the legs, coming up into downward facing dog. Tops of the thighs pressing back, sit bones lifting, chest coming through the arms. Inhale. Exhale, sliding forward into plank pose. Inhale back into downward facing dog. Then walk the feet forward all the way up to the top of the mat. Exhale completely. Reach the chin to the shins to lengthen the front side of the body. Hands can be on the shins, upper shin, lower shin, ankles, or all the way onto the floor. Inhale halfway up, extended forward fold, Utthita Uttanasana. Exhale all the way forward. Inhale, externally rotate the arms. Continue the inhale, slowly sweep the arms up overhead. Upward facing hand pose. Pull the head back, gaze up towards the fingers, arms long, legs rooted, feet rooted into the floor, into the earth, kneecaps lifting. Hands together, bring the hands down to the heart center. And then I'm going to turn my mat so you can see me just a little bit better. As we start to go through the standing practice. You may want to have your blocks available at the sides of the mat. Inhale, sweep the arms overhead. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, come halfway up, hands on the shins, Utthita Uttanasana. Exhale, come all the way forward. Hands can now be on the floor or on blocks. Inhale, shift the weight to the right leg, lift the left knee up, and step high and back into a high lunge. So you're on the ball mounts of the toes on the back leg. Pressing through the heel, belly on the thighs on the right. Lifting one arm at a time to lengthen the side body. Alternating, notice how you can maybe feel the ribs crawl across the leg. Then with right leg forward, left leg back. Pivot on the ball mounts of the toes of the left leg, the back leg. Place the heel down. Getting ready to lift up. Straighten the front leg. Setting ourselves up now for triangle pose. Right leg straight and long. Lift the kneecap. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale, lift arms shoulder height. Press into the back foot, the back heel. Exhale, coming forward, hand above the knee, below the knee on the right leg. Left arm reaches up. Anchor into that back heel. Front leg is externally rotating. Look down and see alignment of knee, with the ankle, with the foot. You can place your hand on your leg or on a block. Back leg, press the top of the thigh back by pressing into the outer heel. Then inhale, lift up through that upper left arm. Checking alignment again of heel to arch. As we lift the arms up, gaze over the fingertips and start a gentle pulsing warrior two. Just subtle and gentle, opening up that groin area, wakening up the thigh muscle. Then find a place to settle into your warrior two. Inhale, exhale, top of the thigh coming as parallel to the floor as possible. Root back into that back left heel. So right thigh parallel to the floor as much as you can. Gaze out over the fingertips. Then exalted warrior. Externally rotate the arm, lift the arm up overhead as the hand slides down the back leg. Exhale, come forward now into side angle pose. Bend the right arm, place the right arm on the thigh. Use that arm as a lever to turn the ribs, bottom right ribs forward, top left ribs back. Left hand on the waist. Then you can turn the palm up, extend the arm back behind you, sweep the arm overhead. Gaze up towards the fingertips or gaze forward. Whatever feels good for your neck. Inhale, lift up, straighten the front leg. Hands come forward again now on the blocks or on the floor. Pop up the back left heel, bend the knee, and step forward once, twice, maybe all at once. Exhale all the way forward. Inhale halfway up. Exhale all the way down. Inhale, lift the arms overhead. Upward facing hand pose. And then exhale all the way forward into your standing forward fold, getting ready to change sides now. Feet are about hips width apart. Shift the weight now onto the left leg. Bring the right knee up to chest. Stand back, lunge high. Right leg back, left leg forward. Alternating arms with an inhale, reach. Coming into sync with spaciousness. Inhale again, reach the opposite side. Feel the ribs crawling across the top of the thigh. Come back to your high lunge position now. On your back right leg, pivot on the ball mounts of the toes. Heel coming down. Then getting ready to come up to set up for triangle pose. So inhale, straighten the front leg, come all the way up, and start to check heel to arch alignment. As you find your next inhale, raise the arms up, shoulder height. Gaze out over the fingertips, lift the chest, lengthen the spine. Press into the outer arch of the foot, spread the mat between the feet. Finding your exhale, coming into your triangle pose. Front leg externally rotates as the hand slides down the leg above the knee, below the knee, towards the ankle. Placing hand on the floor or a block, or keep the hand above the knee, below the knee. Find that place and space that works for you. Right arm reaching up, lift the kneecaps of both legs. Press into the outer arch of the foot on the back leg. Press the top of the thigh back on that right leg. Then to come up, inhale, up into your warrior two. So pulsing warrior two. Just opening the front leg again. Opening that front groin. Moving with the breath. Coming into sync with spaciousness. Ujjayi breath. Then settle into your warrior two. Allow the front groin to be soft. Back thigh presses back. Press into the outer arch of the foot. Gaze out over the fingertips. Externally rotate the front arm. Exalted warrior. Lift up. Arm comes overhead. Let the hand slide down the back leg. Reach up. As you exhale and find the next one, bring your bent arm now on the left onto the front left leg. Side angle pose. Use the arm to rotate the rib case. Bottom left ribs coming forward, top right ribs moving back. Spread the mat between the feet. Right hand can stay on the waist. Or you can move in a little more deeply. Extend the arm back behind you. Sweep the arm overhead. Gaze up at the fingertips or look forward, depending on how your neck feels in this moment. Inhale, sweep up, back into your warrior two. Straighten the front leg. Hands come down on the blocks. Pop up the back heel. You might need to step forward a little bit to close your stance. Bend the back knee. Straighten legs. Exhale all the way forward. Hands can come to the floor. Feet can separate. Hips width apart. Inhale halfway up. Exhale all the way forward. Inhale all the way up. Bring arms up overhead, upward facing hand pose. Just moving back so you can see me more completely. And getting ready for chair pose. Feet together, Utkatasana. Feet together, squeeze the legs together. Again, sweep arms overhead, inhale. Gaze up towards the hands. If you can, pull the head back. Close the clasp of the hands. If that's not available, arms can stay separated. Otherwise, close the hands together. Exhale, sitting back into chair pose. Let the tailbone release down. Let the spine stay as vertical to the floor and the shins stay as vertical to the floor as possible. Squeeze the legs together, give you strength. Tailbone releases down. Thighs parallel to the floor. Bring hands down towards the heart center, twisting chair pose now. Right hand grabs the outside of the left arm. Bring it in between the knees or to the outside of the right knee. Starting the twist. Bottom left ribs forward, top right ribs back. Hands into namaste position. Press upper hand into lower hand, twist. Bottom left ribs forward, top right ribs back. Inhale, release, come to center, lift all the way up. Exhale again, hands come down to the heart center. Lift all the way up, and then sit back into chair pose. Clasp the hands together. Bring hands down to namaste position. Left hand reaches over to the outside of the right arm. Bring it across the center line of the body, either in between the legs or to the outside of the thigh. So right arm, outside left leg. Hands come together in namaste position. Upper hand presses into lower hand to help the twist. Right ribs, bottom right ribs forward. Top left ribs back. Squeeze the legs together. Find your breath. Inhale, release and lift up. Exhale, release. And come down to the floor. Coming down to the floor, we're going to work a little on
setting up for Navasana, boat pose. So first we'll come into Dandasana, staff pose. Moving that fleshy part of the buttocks off to the side, hands next to the body, on the floor, or up on the fingertips. Lift the spine, lengthen the spine. Maybe feeling your heartbeat at this moment after we come from standing to sitting. Notice your breath. Press the tops of the thighs down towards the floor as you press the hands, arms extend, lift the chest. Pull the chin back, ears over the shoulders. Then bend the knees and place the feet on the floor. Feel yourself on your sit bones. So if you don't feel your sit bones, get in that position where you can. Chest lifting, hold the backs of the thighs. Starting to lean back, we'll lift one leg at a time. Bring that right shin parallel to the floor, chest still lifting. Notice if the chest starts to sink, and see if you can bring that lift back into the chest. Then place the right foot down. Lift the chest again. Bring some new invigoration back to the chest. As now we lift the left leg. Notice we're still on the sit bones, but we're lifting the chest and lifting the leg. Now if you'd like to go forward, you can lift both legs one at a time, or you can keep lifting one leg at a time like we were just doing. Chest still lifting. Hands behind the legs. Notice if you can release the arms, keep the chest lifting. Then notice if you can straighten the legs, lift the feet a little higher than the head. Keep the chest lifting. Then bend knees. Let feet come down. Hold to the length of time that feels good and right to you. We're going to reestablish Dandasana, and we'll come back into boat pose again, Navasana. Chest lifting, tops of the thighs pressing down, kneecaps engaged. And again, bend the knees, place the feet on the floor. Again, you can alternate legs. It's all good abdominal work. Or you can lift both legs at the same time. Keep chest lifting. We take the pose apart piece by piece so we can see that place in space maybe where the chest starts to dip. Release arms, extend legs. Holding for a breath or two or three. Then bend knees and let the feet come down to the floor. Coming back into easy cross-legged pose. Hands on the knees. Lift the chest. In this mindful flow class, or Yan Yoga, sometimes I finish with a little access into Yin Yoga. So today, we're going to do Sphinx pose. You may want to have a block or a blanket or your towel that you used for your head available as a prop. So let me demonstrate the pose. The two practices differ in that in the Yan movements, or the mindful vinyasa, mindful flow type yoga, we're working more with the superficial musculature of the body. And in the Yin practice, we want to move past the muscles and lean into the connective tissue. As we lean into the connective tissue, we'll hold the pose for anywhere from 1 to 5 minutes. So as we get into the pose, we want to lean towards the edge, not past the edge, so we don't want to feel pain. But we want to come up to our capacitor. We're kind of feeling sensation. And again, we'll hold for a few minutes, and then we'll release, and then we'll move into Shavasana. So coming forward into Sphinx pose, no work in the pose. Legs will be relaxed behind me. In fact, I'm going to move to the side so you can see just a little bit better. Good. Hands will come together. Elbows underneath the shoulders. Again, no tension in the legs. Just let the legs relax. Legs are spread about hips width apart or a little bit wider. Elbows are underneath the shoulders in this moment. Now, if you feel pain in the lower back, you can move the elbows forward. The idea is to release and let go and let the rib cage and the belly release towards the floor. If you still find pain, then you may want to bring the arms a little bit forward, or else maybe the pose isn't for you today. To give yourself a little bit of support though, you can take the rolled blanket, or take the blanket that you had underneath your head, roll it, maybe tri-fold it. You can place this blanket underneath the rib cage. This in some ways will support and give some nice comfort to the ribs. So while we're still leaning into that place and space of the back, down into that kidney meridian, which is what we access in this pose, and there's a little more harmony in the lower back. Now, if you find that elbows underneath the shoulders is not enough lift for you and that you can go further, you can actually take this blanket and place the arms on the blanket. So you'll notice it will lift you a little bit more. So you may have already started to settle into your version of the pose. I'm going to stick today with the roll underneath the ribs. You can also do this with blocks, which is why I suggested having a block available too. Again, just leaning in towards that connective tissue. No work, legs are soft. Opening to spaciousness. Letting go of your ujjayi breath now. In the yin practice, we don't use ujjayi breath. Just our normal breath flow. Chest is long, arms supporting. Neck is long. Try not to throw the head back so there's any kinks in the neck. See if you can lengthen that neck. Maybe gaze out towards the top of the fingertips. Allow the ribs and the belly especially to release towards the floor. Let your jaw be soft. Allow the legs and the buttocks to remain soft too.
And as we start to prepare to leave this pose, if you have a prop underneath your ribs, you can remove that, place that off to the side, slowly roll down, make a small pillow with the hands, and let the head release to one side or the other. In this way of resting after each pose in the yin practice, we allow the energy now to flow through the meridians, maybe into places and spaces where the energy hasn't been for a while. So just let the head rest, let the energy flow, and let your breath be relaxed. Turn the head in the opposite direction. Then to come out of this pose and transition into Shavasana, I ask you to extend right arm or left overhead. Whichever arm you extend, roll onto that side. Then roll all the way over and place a folded blanket or towel or whatever you have underneath your head and neck to prepare for Shavasana. And as you set yourself up, remember, bring the blanket or the height down to fill the cervical curve, only to the tops of the shoulders. Let the head rest. It's thought that the forehead being slightly higher than the chin allows for the mind to be a little more relaxed and to come into more of a meditative state. So sit back into your Shavasana. Arms long, legs long, and allow yourself to settle. As we start to come into our Shavasana practice, I'm going to read from the Tao. This is a translation by Stephen Miller. I'm going to read chapter 8. The supreme good is like water, which nourishes all things without trying to. It is content with the low places that people disdain. Thus it is like Tao. In dwelling, live close to the ground. In thinking, keep it simple. In conflict, be fair and generous. In governing, don't try to control. In work, do what you enjoy. In family, be completely present. When you are content to be simply yourself, and don't compare or compete, everybody will respect you. You can allow yourself to rest in Shavasana for a few minutes more. I thank you for practicing with me today. I know this isn't a perfect way to practice together over video, and it's certainly not a professionally completed video, but I offer it to you today as a way to connect with the practice, to connect with yourself,
and to connect as a community. Enjoy. Namaste.